Okay, how's everybody doing? I want to say Happy Easter for the last time in 2011. This is Pentecost weekend. It's the birthday of the church and also the end of the Easter season. And the last time that I don't know, I was here talking to you, it was Holy Week, and we were making some connections about Holy Week and the Mass. And I ended with one statement which said, it came from the late Holy Father Pope John Paul II in one of his main writings, one of his encyclicals, just before he died. He says that the key to the Eucharist is found in the resurrection. And I wanted to come back to that point because for us Catholics, it's so important to have our identity so closely grounded in the Eucharist above all things that we can understand in the mystery of Easter, the mystery of the resurrection, really central part of our faith, which is the Eucharist. And so here's the point that I wanted to say about that. Our Holy Father said, the secret of the resurrection is founded in the Eucharist. And what did he mean by that? Well, I wanted to just introduce Jesus as being the new manna sent from heaven. And this is not something that I'm introducing. Jesus himself introduces that concept all the way back in the Gospel, in the very famous Gospel of John, in the 6th chapter, which is so central for us Catholics, which is called the Bread of Life Discourse. Jesus introduces himself for the very first time there as the living bread of life, the new manna that comes down from heaven, which is given by the Father. And he says, I've got this Bible here, he says, I am the bread of life. Your ancestors ate manna in the desert, but they died. This is the bread that comes down from heaven, so that one may eat it and not die. I am the living bread that came down from heaven. Whoever eats this bread will live forever, and the bread that I will give is my flesh for the life of the world. And for me, as a Catholic, it was kind of always a tough place to understand the Eucharist, because I would think to myself, well, in the Mass, if I receive the Eucharist now, today, and every Sunday, how is it that I receive Jesus when he walked this earth and was crucified over 2,000 years ago? That was hard for me to understand. How can I receive Jesus now when 2,000 years ago, really, he was crucified? And what helped me is the understanding that indeed us Catholics who receive the Eucharist do not only receive Jesus' crucified body, and the resurrection is the key to help us understand this, just like our Holy Father said, our late Holy Father, Pope John Paul II. So, if you can remember and think back the entire 50 days of this whole Easter season, remember all the stories. By the way, I hope you guys see the Winnie the Pooh over here. That's Isaac's poster. Winnie the Pooh. Okay, what I was talking about there is the stories of this entire Easter season depict Jesus in his resurrected body, and there's all kinds of stories. He passes through walls. He appears to the disciples and the apostles. He comes to really set them free and give them courage. He walks with them. He encounters, the doubting Thomas. He breathes on the apostles and communicates to them and institutes the sacrament of reconciliation. The very first thing he does in the Gospel of Luke is that he celebrates Mass on the road to Emmaus. He walks with these two disciples, and they're in conversation, and Jesus starts to break open the Scriptures for them, and their hearts are burning from within. And then at the end of the day, he breaks the bread, and they recognize him. In the very moment that they recognize him and they celebrate that Mass together, he vanishes and disappears. He passes through walls. He comes back in his resurrected body. He has the gift of the stigmata, of course. He's in his resurrected body, but Thomas can see and place his own hands in the wounds and in the hands of Jesus. This is all very significant for the key phrase that I'm trying to get at here, which is the secret of the Eucharist is found in the resurrection. You see, for me, I always struggled with understanding my reception of Holy Communion, the Eucharist, Jesus' body, blood, soul, and divinity, as being, how can it be, I said, that this is truly Jesus' body and blood when he died 2,000 years ago? And the fact is, and we see this in the story of the resurrection, that Jesus, after he rises from the dead, is not bound by space or time at all. And you see this in story after story, many of the ones that I just mentioned. And so this is a very central teaching for us Catholics, because we believe that we don't only receive Jesus' crucified body, blood, soul, and divinity, but we believe that we receive his crucified, resurrected, and glorified body, blood, soul, and divinity. You see, after Jesus' death and resurrection, Jesus basically takes himself as the priest and victim up into heaven and presents himself to the Father as the sacrificial Lamb of God. And when he does that, he makes possible the sacrifice on the altar of the Catholic Church in any place and in any time in this world. And so this heavenly sacrifice becomes presented to the Father, and through Christ, for our sake, his crucified, resurrected, ascended, and glorified body, so that it can be offered in any time, whenever and wherever and however Jesus desires to appear and present himself to us. And we know, of course, that he desired to present himself to us by way of his apostles at the Last Supper, in whom he passed on the gift of the priesthood and instituted the Eucharist. So, I hope that helps. That's all for today. Happy Easter and happy ordinary time. This is your host, Benjamin, youth minister at Precious Blood Catholic Church. Thanks, youth group. God bless you, and I'll see you in ordinary time.